This is the Diamond Hogs Podcast with Mason Choate and Robert Stewart.
Welcome to the Diamond Hogs Podcast. I am your host, Mason Choate, joined by Robert Stewart, my co-host, and producer of the Diamond Hogs Podcast, Christian Cheetham. Arkansas loses its first home series since March 31st, 2019 against Ole Miss. They lose 2 of 3 to Vanderbilt, and everybody's freaking out because they think Arkansas for sure isn't going to host a super regional, and some people saying this team won't get out of the regional. I think that is an overreaction. I think there's a lot of baseball left to be played. So does Dave Van Horn. I think we can all agree that is the case. But you look at it, Arkansas is tied with Texas A&M for first in the West. We know A&M has the tiebreaker. So as of this moment, recording this podcast, Arkansas will be the 2 seed from the West. So the second in the West, the 3 seed overall, right?
Should be, yes.
Okay.
Which is worst case scenario for us because that's 9:30 in the morning on Wednesday.
That would be a 9:30 because we're going to Hoover, for those of you who don't know. So looking to Hoover, if Arkansas gets the 3 seed, that means Wednesday morning they would play 9:30 a.m. So that's not only bad for us, that's bad for everybody else who wants to watch Arkansas play baseball. And then you have to get up at 9:30 a.m. Central Time. So we will get into this weekend, how everything happened, and there's a lot to talk about. So before we do, as always, I need to remind you about HitThatLine.com. We are part of the Hit That Line podcast network. That is where you can get all of your favorite Razorback listening needs. You can get more than that, though. You can get Robert's recaps from the games, and you can check them out on Twitter at HitThatLineAR for live updates from games, quotes from the post-game press conferences. They also post all of their podcasts there. They post interviews from the Morning Rush, Halftime, Ruskin and Zach. All those things at HitThatLine.com is where you can find it. Very thankful for them and thankful for everybody who listens on the Hit That Line podcast network. And we're also on HawgBeat.com on the HawgBeat YouTube. You can watch us there, and it's always a good little thing to watch. It's like watching a TV show. We're on TV. Like, you could put us on your TV if you wanted to. I don't know if you would want to or not. Robert is a beautiful man. I would say so. He's got his Under Armour slides, letting the dogs out today. You want to show him the dogs on the TV?
That sounds complicated, honestly.
No, it's not. I put my foot up here all the time. There they are. If you're watching on the YouTube, you just saw Robert's toes. Send us $5 on PayPal for that.
There you go.
Did we ever put our PayPal on the link tree? I don't think we did.
I don't think you told me about it.
Okay. I made a PayPal account.
All right. Gonna have to put it on there.
Yeah. Anyways, HawgBeat YouTube. Go to HawgBeat.com to subscribe for the best Razorback content in the world from Andrew Hutchinson, Alex Trader, and myself, giving you some great baseball content around this time of the year. I mean, we're in prime baseball season. Like, this is the best time of baseball season. So we'll get into some stats that we have from HawgBeat.com as well. But you need to go subscribe, and if you're a student, $11.95 a year. If you email Andrew Hutchinson 413@gmail.com from your .edu account, you can get it for $11.95 a year. That's a great deal. So go check it out. And then last but not least, just Chinook Seedery, best tasting seeds in the world. Like I said, if you're watching right now, we got the cinnamon toast in studio. We're going to try some. We're not going to seed mouth it on air, but we'll try some after. And I'm excited to try the cinnamon toast from Chinook Seedery. And if you want some, they have more than that. The jalapeno ranch, hatch chili, smokehouse barbecue, Parmesan and pepper, dill pickle, original, all of those great flavors. Go to ChinookSeedery.com and use code DHP10 for 10% off your order. All right, Robert. We always start with Friday's game, but do we want to start with like some overarching stuff before? Do we want to do like a full game recap of everything, or just talk big takeaways? Because there was a lot. Like, it felt like this weekend was like a year because of the rain delays.
It really did. It was unfortunate. I had friends in town, and for probably 3+ hours, they got to sit around and wait for baseball. So unfortunate that this had to be the weekend that I introduced them to Baum-Walker Stadium.
Hey, man. It was still a great atmosphere.
Oh, for sure. They told me they loved it Friday night.
Yeah.
Being down 5-0, coming all the way back, that was incredible to be out there.
And, Dave Van Horn said it himself. Good atmosphere. Wish they could have won more games for the fans. But I guess we'll just go ahead and start Friday night. Connor Nolan. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's hard because it's Connor Nolan. You know that he's a good, experienced pitcher, but he got shelled. Like, he wasn't there. Dave Van Horn said it. Like, he did not have his stuff at all.
Feels like we're piling up weeks where that's been the case.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I said I don't know, because it's tough. This is not the time that you want your starting pitching to fall apart.
Right, and it seems like this particular pattern with Noland is problematic too. Like, he will get into ruts, I guess, where he just gives up hit after hit after hit, maybe sprinkling a walk in there, and like you don't even have time to realize what just happened. Like just going down the list of people who scored in the second inning, 4 run second inning, walk, homer, walk, single, sac bunt, single.
Yeah,
like that's crazy.
That second inning was bad, but now that I'm thinking back to it, he did respond well after the second inning. I mean, I feel like things went better after that.
He did. He paid for another leadoff walk in the third, but that it took a sac fly to score that, so it's not like they had a really productive inning necessarily in the third. But like you said, settled down, gave up 3 base runners in the 4th and 5th together, but escaped unharmed after being down 5-0.
Yeah, Christian, pull up Connor Nolan's roster page while we're talking. So you talked about it, what Nolan did in the 4th and the 5th, but Arkansas puts together some runs there in the 4th and the 5th, got 1 in the 4th, 3 in the 5th. So then you're looking at a 5-3 Vandy lead, score 1 in the 6th, 5-4, and then Vandy scores 1 in the 7th, so then you're 6-4. Arkansas scores 1 more, 6-5. Right? Am I saying that right? Oh wait, no. I missed. It was
5-5 after 6. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I missed the run in the 6th. So 5-5 after 6, and then Vandy takes a 6-5 lead in the 7th, and then Arkansas ties it 6-6 in the 7th, bottom of the 7th, and then of course the Enrique Bradfield home run in the top of the 10th. So this one went to extras in the top of the 10th, and man, that was not good.
No, it wasn't. But I mean, let's talk about innings 4 through 7 for a minute, because I mean they were pretty much jam packed. There were a lot of home runs. Brady Slavens hit 2 of them. He got the scoring started for the Hogs in the 4th. Wallace hit a 2-run shot in the 5th to cut it to 5-3, and then Slavens went back to back. So that was a big sequence there. The 6th, that was a pretty pivotal moment, because they had the unearned run. There was an error on the second baseman that Webb, or 2 errors. Webb came around to score, and then Michael Turner had bases loaded with 1 out. Works a 10-pitch at bat, but grounds into a double play. Could have gone ahead right there.
You weren't in the press box for most of the weekend, but
that game I was.
Oh, you were?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think it was another game, but Andrew Hutchinson said Michael Turner is a double play machine. And
yeah,
I love Michael Turner time, but he is a double play machine. He hits into a lot of double play.
I mean, I feel like Pete's told us that week in and week out, right? He leads the team in double plays, and it's not particularly close.
Oh, yeah? I didn't know that.
Well, he's told me at least.
Well, I trust Pete. Okay, keep going, because I want to get into Connor Nolan's stats after this.
Sure. So Jack Bolger, the catcher, goes ahead, 6-5 home run, and then Chris Lanzilli ties the game 6-6 in the 7th with a productive ground out. Robert Moore scored after a leadoff double, but like you said, tough way to end it there in the 9th. Brady Tigert had gone through 2 innings at that point, did a good job to escape a jam in the 8th, went 1-2-3 in the 9th, and then ran into some trouble in the 10th with walk and a double. I forgot how close they were to getting out. Like you said, this weekend's been forever, but they were so close to getting out of that inning before Bradfield hit that home run, right? Because they had second and third, nobody out, shallow fly ball, you're not going to score on that. And then the weakest bunt I've ever seen, allowed for 2 unassisted fielder's choice at home. And then Bradfield was down to his last strike and went deep to right. So
yeah, I mean, he was down on the count. It was 1-2, and then Dave Van Horn said it himself. It was a good pitch that Tiger threw, and Bradfield just took advantage and made a really nice hit. And I don't think that that's on Brady Tygart. I think that that's just baseball, you know?
Yeah. I mean, Bradfield also is probably the SEC Player of the Week at this point. I mean, we heard it coming into the series. He's, according to Dave Van Horn, he's the best leadoff man in the country. He doubled down on that after Sunday's loss. I mean, he had 8 hits. I tweeted it out at some point during Sunday's game, but he had 8 hits on the weekend, stole 6 bases. I tweeted that he had 4 and then stole second and third. So, I mean, he had a monster weekend. And goes without saying, with 3-run game-running home run, that's going to add some weight to that as well.
Yeah, so Arkansas loses the opener 9-6, and then unfortunately you had to sit there and watch the fireworks after. Fireworks are always better after a win, of course.
Yeah, we didn't get to watch them. We heard them during the press conference.
Yeah, we did not get to watch them. Christian, did you watch the fireworks? You were there.
Yeah, I was out there. We watched them for a little bit, and then the marketing team and some of the Diamond Dogs went out there to kind of clean up any debris. But, yeah, We watched them. There was really nobody there, and the energy was obviously completely drained.
Didn't quite match up to the post-Florida fireworks last year.
Yeah. Christian, what Connor Nolan stats? The past, 2 or 3 games. All
right, so he's got, the other day, 5 earned runs, 3 earned runs against Auburn, 4 earned runs against Ole Miss. That's 5, 4, and 8 innings. 5 against Vanderbilt, 4 against Auburn, 8 against Ole Miss. Second time giving up 5 runs all year. First time giving up 5 earned was against Vanderbilt. 3 walks, 4 walks, last 3 starts. 5 Ks, 4 Ks, 3 Ks.
I think that's been the big thing for me is the number of walks.
Yeah.
I mean, it felt like there were a lot of games he went with, 0, 1, 2, and you just listed off 3 or 4 with 3 and 4. So I think that certainly backs up Dave Van Horn saying he doesn't have his stuff, right? Because he's not locating as well as he normally does.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just one of those things where he's on a cold streak, but you're not going to change anything. You're going to leave him in that Friday night role. Things are going to be a little bit different because you do have the SEC tournament coming up, so we'll see how that works out. And then you go into postseason play, regional, super. So, I mean, you can get away with changing stuff up a little bit there and just kind of mix and match, especially in tournament style play, especially SEC tournament, regional. They'll figure that out, but going to Alabama this next weekend, Connor Nolan's going to start on Thursday night. That's how it's going to go. And hopefully he can get things figured out and not give up 5 earned runs. That's what it comes down to. But so you don't really feel super bad because it's one pitch. Brady Tygart gives up a 3-run bomb. Bradfield, that's how it goes. And so Arkansas loses. But then you look at it, let's go to Saturday's game, and this was tough because of the delay.
Yes, it was. I was secretly hoping that the rule in the pros where if you get through 5 innings and they got to call it, they just end it because they were through 5.5, right? It was the middle of the 6th.
It was the middle of the 6th because they picked up in the bottom of the 6th.
And Arkansas had staged another magnificent comeback.
Yes. I mean, where were they at when they stopped things?
It was
8-6 Arkansas?
8-6 Arkansas, yes.
Because Vandy...
In the top of the third, Vanderbilt led 5-1.
Yeah, so the top of the third, Hagen Smith just fell apart.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he ever really had it. Gosh, I'm trying to think here. I mean... Yeah, he threw 34 pitches in the 3rd inning. He threw 33 in the first 2 together.
Wow.
So, I mean, it was the dagger of an infield single by Bradfield. He had 2 or 3 of those this weekend. A walk to Spencer Jones, a double by Javier Vaz, another walk. He walked, two guys in that inning, 4 guys total. He had more walks than strikeouts. I feel like that's another problem that we've seen with Hagen Smith, too.
Yeah, and the tough thing was I posted this before that game. Let me pull it up because I posted it on Twitter. His stats at home before that game, they were
significantly better than the ones on the road.
Really, really good. I got to pull it up. I'm scrolling as fast as I can. I'm scrolling as fast as I can. Here we go. Hagen Smith going into Saturday's game, his stats at home were he had a 6-0 record, so all 6 of his wins, 2.33 ERA, 11 earned runs, 16 walks, and 51 strikeouts. And then you look at it, I mean, he gave up 5 earned runs on Saturday alone.
Just 2 2 2/3
in 2 2/3. So tough outing for Hagen Smith. Do you think the freshman's falling apart, Robert?
I don't think he's falling apart. I mean,
You think he's hit a wall? The freshman wall, as they call it?
do they call it? Is that a thing?
That's what I've heard.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like he's sort of been trending this way. Like, we got to see his best stuff against, I mean, through no fault of their own, lousier opponents earlier in the year, right? I mean, that's just how it goes. And so I think everybody's expectations may have been a little bit skewed when you saw him perform so well against non-conference competition.
Yeah.
I mean, again, Vanderbilt's a really good team. Like, you wouldn't guess it by looking at their 14-13 conference record. But they played really well this weekend. I think you have to give them a lot of credit. And, you know, we haven't watched them throughout the year, so who's to say what's been going wrong? But, I mean, think about it. They got swept by Tennessee. A lot of people have gotten swept by Tennessee. That's not – I don't think you can, you know, be ashamed of that, right? So that means, aside from that, 9 in series other than Tennessee, which that's a good place to be through 21 games. It just sucks that you have Tennessee on your schedule.
Yeah. I think I muted you for a second there.
That's mean.
Well, if somebody didn't hear what Robert said, that was my fault. I'm not going to go back through and edit that. So,
Vanderbilt's a good team.
Yeah.
Moral of the story.
But you look at it, Zack Morris is very valuable out of the bullpen right now.
Yeah. No, I was going to get to that in a sec. I mean, he really settled that game down, right? Because he did give up the double right after he came in, but those 2 runs that scored were Smith's. Got out of that, and then, I mean, after that double, it was 8 guys in a row, and that really helped the Razorbacks gain some offensive momentum.
Yeah, I think Zack Morris, and you look at Saturday's game. Of course, you had the delay there. I was going to get into more of the bullpen, Will McIntyre, but let's just talk about how Arkansas scored 8 runs to go up 8-6. So hold on, they went up 8-6 when they postponed it. Okay,
That correct.
How did that happen?
Okay, so Wallace led off the first with a home run, right?
Yeah.
Remember that? That was the first of 2 home runs for him. There was an error on the right fielder that let Jalen Battle score to make it 5-2 in the third. 3 walks in a row, 6, 7, 8. Zach Gregory gets a sac fly. It's now 5-3, and then Caden Wallace goes oppo, takes the lead 6-5. That was one thing we heard from Van Horn in the presser on Sunday, is that's sort of the mark that you can tell Caden Wallace is really swinging it well is when he drives the ball to right, and that was pretty well hit to right. I was sitting on the bleachers in the hog pen, so I couldn't see it leave the yard, but I mean it seems like he got it pretty well based on the reaction from the crowd.
Yeah, I think Caden Wallace. Dave Van Horn said it, but Caden Wallace hitting the ball really well right now. That's what you need from a guy who, I mean, he wasn't voted as a preseason All-American, but I think everybody in the state of Arkansas agreed he got snubbed. He should have been a preseason All-American and thought he was going to come out and, you know, play with a chip on his shoulder. And he's had a good season. He's a good player, one of Arkansas's best players, but it hasn't been what you expected from him.
Sure.
And so I think moving forward, if you could have a Caden Wallace like you had this weekend, where what do you have? 2 homers, 4 for 11, 4 RBI,
3 extra base hits.
Yeah, so that's what you need from Caden Wallace.
2 walks to only 1 strikeout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Golly, I'm looking at this lineup and there's a bunch of overs.
Bunch of overs.
Okay, we'll get into that, but
well, yeah, that's the thing too. I mean, they won 11-6 on Saturday into Sunday, right? But they only had 5 hits. They never strung hits together. Not one time.
no.
Like I just described that big 4-run 4th inning, but 3 of those runs that scored were walks.
It's crazy to score 11 runs and only have 5 hits.
It's insane. Vanderbilt walked 10 in that game. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of those scored.
Wow.
2 runners scored after being hit by a pitch. So that's 8, right? And the other 3 were home runs. So 8 free passes turned into runs and 3 home runs.
So
that's your 11 runs.
Yeah, that's a weird way to score 11 runs, but you just look at it. Arkansas, they scored 11 runs, but I think, the pitching, aside from Hagen-Smith giving up those 5 runs, you look at it, Morris gave up 1. Vermillion only faced, 1 batter, got the out, strikeout, and then Will McIntyre. I texted you before the game. I had a dream about him. I woke up in the middle of the night, Sunday. It was technically Sunday morning, but it was Saturday night. I went to sleep. I woke up thinking, Will McIntyre's got to start today. Of course, he didn't start the game, but he started when they picked back up.
Correct.
I said, Will McIntyre, he's got to be the guy.
And it turns out that was the plan all along.
Turns out that was the plan all along. He goes 3 innings, gives up 2 hits, 3 strikeouts. I mean, if I could place a future bet on it right now, Will McIntyre, 2023 Golden Spikes Award winner.
He looked money. I mean, for real. And it's encouraging that the coaching staff sees it too, right? Because Dave said that, Vermillion, he got the one out right before things got shut down last night. The plan all along, as we said earlier, was for McIntyre to keep pitching.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether it was Saturday night or Sunday morning.
I really think Will McIntyre, this was, I mentioned it earlier, but the bullpen game, Zack Morris, Will McIntyre, those dudes are going to be huge moving forward for Arkansas, especially if you're starting pitching, because the leash is only going to get shorter from here.
Right.
Dave Van Horn is not going to leave Connor Nolan or Hagen-Smith. This is no slight to Jackson Wiggins, but especially not Jackson Wiggins, out if he's getting shelled.
Right.
Because those games moving forward are a lot more important than a Friday night game against Vanderbilt.
Right. And if you don't have your stuff, then you can't afford to wait around and, eat up innings. That's not going to fly. I mean, I think about the game all the time. I don't remember if it was 18 or 19, but it was Isaiah Campbell in a regional against Dallas Baptist maybe. Walked 2 or 3 guys, had 1 out. Got yanked. Isaiah Campbell, future pro.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you are.
Are you looking that up? Okay.
Your leash is going to be significantly shorter in the postseason.
Yeah, and I think that it's good that you have, as I mentioned, that guy, Will McIntyre, a guy who started, 4 midweeks this season, I think? And so if you do have to, say, pull Hagen-Smith in the first or the second inning, then you basically can probably get 3 or 4 innings out of Will McIntyre. That's a midweek start. And then Cole Ramage, I don't know what you can get from Cole Ramage moving forward. I feel like that's just, I don't know. I think Cole Ramage is a serviceable relief pitcher. But what we've seen from Will McIntyre, I think, has been incredible. For a guy that entering the season, I mean, they didn't expect him to ever be on the 27-man.
And hadn't pitched since before the pandemic.
Yeah. It had been a while. So, and then Zack Morris, I mean, he's been a surprise too here in the second half of the season with the struggles that Evan Taylor's having. I think right now you might trust Zack Morris more than Evan Taylor.
Right. I mean, he was instrumental in holding things under control when it got when it seemed like they might get out of control on Saturday. And the home run he gave up in the 6th, at that point it was already 8 to 5, so it made it 8-6. It was a solo shot. Didn't really matter, but also it was the first run he gave up in conference play all year, right?
Huh?
The home run Morris gave up?
It was the first run he had given up since April 5th or 15th. I think it was the 5th.
5th against UCA. It had been a long in that game against UCA, those were the only 2 earned runs he had given up, and I think I might be wrong. I think that was on a home run. Keep talking.
Okay. But either way, if that's the case, that was before that game, Saturday's game, Zack Morris had not given up an earned run in more than one game. It had only been one game all year. He hadn't given up an earned run. And he was money, and I think he still is money. Even though he gave up an earned run, so what? That's fine. Zack Morris he's really good out of the bullpen right now.
Yeah, for sure. Looking at that UCA game from the 5th, It says he gave up 2 runs on an infield single and a walk.
Oh, okay.
Heston Toll allowed both of those guys to score.
Mm.
But I mean, that was a game that Miller Plyman started and only went a third of an inning, giving up 3 runs. So Morris settled that down and really allowed the Razorbacks to come back in that one too. That was the Dylan Leach cycle game for those of you who did not remember.
Okay. But yeah, then Arkansas picked it up Sunday morning in the bottom of the 6th. They scored 3 runs. Let's see, one of them was on a home run in the 7th, right?
2 of them on home runs in the 7th. On one home run in the 7th. Gregory
That's what I meant.
Gregory was hit by a pitch.
Yeah.
Scored on a wild pitch. Braden Webb led off wearing a pitch. I don't remember what it was. And then Battles drove him in with a 2-run shot to left.
And that's how you get your 11-6 win on Sunday, finishing out Saturday's game 2.
Correct, which sets up a 7-inning game in the finale by rule because it's getaway day, as I understand it correctly.
7-inning rubber match between Jackson Wiggins and Carter Holton, who threw a complete game shutout.
Freshman left-hander throwing a 2-hit shutout.
Did it feel kind of like that game 3 of the College World Series?
Well, as soon as I said freshman out loud,
Yeah.
after a 2-hit shutout, which I believe game 3 in 2018 was.
Yeah. Yeah. It just, like, I kind of got that vibe for a while there. And it was tough to watch, man.
It was tough to watch.
The thing that sucked was Jackson Wiggins, who has been questioned more than probably any pitcher on this Razorback pitching staff. He gave you a great game.
Oh, absolutely.
Great start.
Absolutely. I mean, I've talked about walks with starting pitching this whole episode, right? Wiggins stood out because he only had 1. And when he walked his first, he got pulled from the game, oddly enough. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I thought it was about to get ugly in the first because Bradfield singled after 2 pitches, and then 1 or 2 pitches later, he was on second base because he stole it. And then he hit another guy, but then he had 2 big strikeouts to work out of that jam. Didn't have any trouble in the second. Shouldn't have had any trouble in the third, but Slavens made that fielding error at first. Allowed Jack Bolger to get over to third, set up a Dominic Keegan sac fly. But yeah, you're right. That was definitely one of Wiggins' better outings, certainly recently.
Yeah, and I think that's very encouraging moving forward, especially after your first 2 starters didn't do so well. To at least have 1.
Well, relative to their own performance, yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
And then Evan Taylor came out. He struggled, and I think it's really not even worth talking about Arkansas at the plate in game 3, unless you want to just run through the 2 hits real quick.
Yeah, Caden Wallace had a single up the middle, and Robert Moore had a double to left.
Yeah, there you go.
Neither of them were important.
We could mention the lineup changes. It was a little bit of a
that was
lineup
weird.
change. So Caden Wallace, Robert Moore, Jalen Battles in the 3-hole, Turner
had been hitting 2, Moore had been hitting 3, right?
Correct. And then Slavens 5, Dylan Leach DH,
Webb 5, Slavens 6, Dylan Leach.
Oh,
DH.
my bad. Dylan Leach DH. This is against a lefty, so Leach is righty, but he switch hits, right?
Correct.
Then Borif and Gregory. So they started.
Gregory got a start against a left-handed pitcher. Can you believe it?
Walked twice.
Walked once.
Oh, I thought he walked twice.
I think he was close to walking tight. I think
that's okay. Yeah, my bad.
Hit a grounder to first in a 3-ball count, I believe.
Wait, Gregory. Hold on. He only had 1 at bat.
2 plate appearances, one of which was a walk.
Okay. I see. Okay, my bad.
But his on base percentage versus lefties must have gone up because he was 500 in this game.
Yeah. Okay. Either way, yeah. The lineup changes a little weird. Not gonna hit Lanzilli. You want to DH Leach over Lanzilli?
I was surprised to hear Leach's name. Well, I wasn't surprised to hear his name. I thought he was going to catch because Turner caught in the morning. And so you just plug Turner into the DH slot, kind of like you do in midweeks, right?
Yeah.
But then it was Turner catching and Leach DHing. And we had this conversation on the concourse or wherever. We're like, left-handed pitcher, no Chris Lanzilli?
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I don't think Lanzilli's hurt. I don't know what's going on with Chris Lanzilli.
He was 0 for 5 in Friday's game.
Yeah.
I mean, there's that, but like, he's still your second leading on base percentage haver, right?
Is he still hitting over 300 too? I think
so. Very close, if not.
Yeah, he's hitting 307.
So, I don't know.
No, that's Wallace. Sorry, Lanzilli's hitting 304. So he's still hitting 300.
Still over 300.
And his on base is 412, which is now third on the team because Webb moved into second. He's got a 422 on base. Gregory still leads 460.
Huh. Well, yeah. I mean, I didn't really understand the lineup changes too much, but one thing I wanted to mention in Sunday's game is I thought the Razorbacks were doing a really good job of driving up pitch count early. In the second, they made Holton throw 25 pitches. That brought his total up to 40, and then 21 in the third, so he was over 60 after 3 innings. But then things started to trend downward. Like, they just didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Like 15, 14, 9, 4, 5, 6, and I think he's right at 90 or right below 90. Going into the 7th inning, and I guess at that point they were like, well, might as well let him finish it off. He's got a 5-run lead. If he starts to choke, then we'll pull him, but he didn't start to choke, and so he got the shutout.
I think it's tough. I mean, Dave Van Horn mentioned they didn't lose the game because it was 7 innings, but you got to think Vandy's probably going to go to the bullpen if they play 9.
That's true.
And what happens if you get to the bullpen? Didn't Robbie Weinstein tell us if you get to Vandy's bullpen, that's how you win the game?
No,
He said that's how
he
you
was saying
lose
the
the game?
opposite.
Oh.
Normally that's true for the Hogs, but he was like, yeah, you have to hit their starters.
Oh.
And they didn't hit Holton. We know that. They tagged McIlvain, the guy on Saturday, for 6 runs, 5 earned, and Futrell, the guy, Friday for 4 earned runs and 5 innings.
Okay.
So they did a pretty good job the first 2 days, but if you're only mustering 2 hits, you're not going to do much of anything. Doesn't matter how good how well Jackson Wiggins throws.
And so Evan Taylor comes in, throws an inning in 1 2/3 innings, and then
he gave up a tough infield single to close the book on Wiggins.
Yeah.
Like barely snuck through the infield, and then he gave up a 2-run home run. Those were the 2 runs he allowed.
yeah. So, and then Ramage came out. I mean, they were down 5-0. Brought in Ramage.
The most notable thing from that Ramage at bat was the 3-2 or not at bat inning was the 3-2 fielder's choice, in which they had guys on second and third, both broke. Slavens threw it home. Turner ran him all the way back to third, and tagged him out, or tagged the guy running from second to third out because there were 2 guys on third base.
Yeah. When you're saying that's the most interesting thing, it's a rough game.
Yeah, exactly.
So Arkansas loses 5-0. As I mentioned when we opened it, first home series loss since losing to Ole Miss in late March 2019.
Conference series loss at home, right? That's what Hutch and them were saying.
I don't know why they said that because I'm pretty sure it's the first home series loss since then. Christian, can you pull that up actually? Go through the schedule.
See if you can find a non-conference series loss before or after that.
It had
in 2019
at home. I don't think there was one. There wasn't one in the COVID season. They didn't lose a series last year, so it had to have been that 2019 season, and they were already in conference play when they played Ole Miss, so that's the last conference series loss.
All right, I'll take your word for it.
Wait, NC State technically counts last year in the Supers.
Well, but then it's not their... Okay, since 2019. Okay. Yes.
Regular season home series
there you
loss.
Go.
There we go. Okay. Anyways, yeah, that's tough. But you think about it, they got 1 win against Vandy, but their RPI is probably not going to go up because they lost the series.
Right.
So
I mean, from my perspective, I still don't think there's a need to panic because you could win Hoover and that would change things, right?
Yeah, no, we'll get into that. And before we do, just want to remind you about Chinook Seedery. Go to ChinookSeedery.com. Use code DHP10 for 10% off your order of the best tasting seeds in the world. You can get all kinds of orders over at ChinookSeedery.com. You don't even have to get seeds if you don't want to get seeds. You can get shirts, you can get hats. They got all kinds of products over there. Just go to ChinookSeedery.com, and you can get the sampler pack, 6-flavor variety case. So that comes with the hatch chili, original, jalapeno ranch, smokehouse barbecue, Parmesan pepper, and dill pickle. Or you can order any flavor you want. You can also build your own pack, 36-pack or a 12-pack. So go over there to ChinookSeedery.com, and you can use code DHP10 for 10% off your order. You will not be disappointed, especially if you're going to be going to a bunch of baseball games in the postseason. You want some seeds to chew on, so get some Chinook Seedery seeds, and you won't be disappointed, I promise.
Nope.
Okay. Let's talk about some stuff. Do you want to do weekend MVPs first?
Sure.
Okay. Weekend MVPs. Did I go?
I think it's your turn.
Okay. I'll go first. I'll take the obvious choice, Caden Wallace. 4 for 11, 2 homers, walked twice, only struck out once, 4 RBI, 2 runs, as Robert mentioned, 4 extra base hits? So
3.
3.
Double, 2 taters.
Double. Okay, yeah. Okay. It's Caden Wallace at the plate for me. Christian, go.
I was just gonna say you probably take Caden Wallace almost every week.
I do not.
It's a good pick. It's a solid pick. But
Are you saying
took
I
him,
do? Or?
Yeah, you do specifically. It's just fine. It's great. I'm just saying,
No, that's not true. Because I took
him last week.
Did I?
I'm pretty sure he did.
Because
he went second, and he was like, "I'm going Caden Wallace." That's fine though. That's great. I'm just saying.
I mean,
he's always a good choice. You're right.
Yeah, it's a great choice.
Yeah, okay, there you go. Who's
you
your
got
choice?
dibs on Caden Wallace. I'm gonna go with Brady Slavens.
Okay.
He had a good night with that.
2 taters on Friday.
Yeah, 2 taters. That was cool. That's all I got to say about that.
Okay.
This is an unconventional answer, I guess, but I'm going to say Braden Webb. He was 0 for 6. However, he scored 4 times and he walked 5 times. So, did his best Zach Gregory impersonation this weekend, and he scored once. He scored the tying run Friday night. He scored 3 times Saturday during the win. I guess one of them was Sunday morning, but and then let's see, how many base runners did the Hogs have on Sunday? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He accounted for 2 of those with 2 walks.
Nice.
So, tough weekend for the Hogs. Tough weekend for Braden Webb's batting average, but good for his OBP.
Yeah, as we mentioned earlier, he is now second on the team in OBP. So, good for him. On the mound, my weekend MVP was Will McIntyre.
Of course it was.
I had a dream about him, and he came through for the dream. Some people say it's not true. There's people out there doubting me. People doubted me when I said that the game was going to get canceled on Saturday night. Or not canceled, postponed. Continue to doubt me, and I will continue to dream up this stuff that actually happens. Will McIntyre, 3 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 3 strikeouts. Your 2023 Golden Spikes Award winner.
There you go. Start the campaign right now.
I'm telling you, dude. We're starting a campaign. We need to film commercials with him.
Get him a little NIL deal.
Yeah, what if we had a Diamond Hawks podcast NIL deal with Will McIntyre? I don't want to go through all the paperwork that I think we would have to be an LLC or whatever to
I need to
do that.
Hire a financial advisor or something.
Yeah, no, we're not going to go through that. But if he wants to film a commercial with us, I'm all for it.
All right.
No.
No.
Producer Christian gets to go now.
All right, Producer Christian, go ahead.
Man, what would have happened if Brady Target got out of that inning? He would have probably pitched a couple more times, probably been MVP, but...
Well, Arkansas would have won the series. Well,
Yeah.
no, because it was still tied. That's a big what if.
Yeah,
Big
it's a big
what
one.
if.
But I think I'm going to go with Wiggins because, he did give up a couple runs, but his fastball was looking really good. I was really impressed with his location and the velocity, and we needed someone to have, a decent, outing and save a couple of the bullpen arms. Although it was a shortened game, but still.
Robert?
This is going to be short and sweet because there aren't a whole lot of really good options this week. It's going to be Zebulon Vermillion. He faced one hitter, and he struck him out. Can't get much better than that.
I figured you'd go with Zack Morris.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
I mean, Morris was good. He pitched.
Robert hates Zack Morris.
Okay.
It's official. Robert, you are the biggest Zack Morris hater in the world.
Start making the T-shirts.
Yes.
I mean, 1-for-1 is pretty good.
I mean, yeah, but that's a very small sample size.
Sure it is. He did his job, though.
Okay.
Congratulations to him.
All right. Weekend MVPs were brought to you by the Encore Group. We're very thankful for the Encore Group. And as we've been mentioning, they have exciting news. Matt Grissom found out that he just received the Torchbearer Award, which means he's one of the top 40 real estate agents under 40 within all of RE/MAX nationwide. That's out of 135,000 agents, which is just crazy. I mean, that's some really good stats right there, to be honest. Like, that's Golden Spikes Award level stats for Matt Grissom over at the Encore Group. You agree?
I would say so.
Okay. And that's only achievable with a proven track record of getting results for his clients time and time again. So if you're interested in buying or selling a home, if you're in the market for that, visit sellingarkansas.com and let Matt and his team show you why they're the best of the best when it comes to selling real estate in Central Arkansas. Central Arkansas is a great place to live right now, too. I'm from that area, and I will tell you it is it's a great place to buy a house or sell a house. But honestly, if you're going to sell a house in Central Arkansas, probably buy another house in Central Arkansas because you do not want to buy a house in Northwest Arkansas right now.
The market's just crazy.
I've got a cousin who works in real estate in Bentonville, and I mean, he's just crazy busy. Christian, I know you guys were trying to buy a house, weren't you?
Yeah, we've been looking for a couple months now, and it's just so competitive. By the time we think about putting an offer in, it's already been sold. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Don't buy one up here.
That's tough. That's why you need to go to Central Arkansas, buy one from Matt Grissom. Okay, let's talk about. I guess we could talk about RPI. We really need to talk about this situation with Texas A&M.
The situation in which the Aggies are currently the number 2 seed in the SEC tournament,
because they have the tiebreaker over Arkansas. It's a big final weekend coming up.
Yes.
Arkansas plays at Alabama. A&M plays at Ole Miss, a very hot Ole Miss team, I will say.
So I was finishing my story for HitThatLine.com today and saw that Alabama has lost its last 6 SEC series. So if you're the Hogs, I really think you need to go in to Tuscaloosa and sweep, especially because you got a big opportunity with A&M being in Oxford. Like you said, the Rebs are hot. They've swept consecutive series now. One of them was Missouri. Take that for what you will. But this weekend, who was it? LSU. First time they've ever swept a series in Baton Rouge. That's pretty remarkable, honestly. So I mean, we talked about Ole Miss being not the Ole Miss team they were all season long, but these last 2 weeks, I think they have found themselves ever since they lost 2 of 3 to Arkansas and Fayetteville.
Yeah. If you're an Arkansas fan, you're also an Ole Miss fan this upcoming week.
Correct.
So,
feels weird to say, but it's true.
Especially in baseball. I feel like Ole Miss is probably Arkansas's biggest rival in baseball.
Yeah.
But it's I think that we looked at this a couple weeks ago, and at the time, Alabama was probably a tougher draw than Ole Miss because we were looking at, who do the teams that Arkansas was. I think we looked at A&M and Auburn's remaining schedule, and at the time, Ole Miss was a better draw for A&M than Alabama was for Arkansas. Now Arkansas is in a good situation. They're going to get to stay in Alabama, going to Hoover, and so we'll get more into this in our series preview episode that's going to come out on Thursday. But I think that you really needed to beat Vanderbilt for 2 reasons. 1, so you can stay ahead of Texas A&M, and 2, RPI, because that's what everybody's talking about. And I think that's what the selection committee is going to go off of for the most part. They really value strength of schedule. And Arkansas lost. They had a great opportunity. Could have beaten. I tweeted it out, but going into Sunday's 2, finishing out Game 2 and Game 3, Vanderbilt was number 3 in the RPI. They had moved up. on Sunday. They were number 3 in the RPI. If you win that game 3, then you get a series win over the number 3 team in RPI. That's big. That's big time. Now, they can still beat Alabama. They can still do really good in Hoover. But looking forward, Dave Van Horn said it himself, they haven't even locked up a regional host spot.
They said he said they have a lot to play for.
They have a lot to play for. There is a lot that can happen in these next 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. There is.
I'm excited for it too. Makes it more interesting. Makes it more fun.
Oh, for sure. And I'm looking at the bottom of the SEC standings right now too, and Alabama hasn't necessarily clinched its spot in Hoover yet. So, the Tide are going to be playing. They've got something to play for against Arkansas next week. So
that's not a good thing though.
Exactly.
That is not a good thing for Arkansas. Oh man. But I think as far as the SEC East goes, Tennessee, they've locked it up. They locked up the regular season championship for the SEC, right?
Yeah.
So
they've got 22 wins, and Arkansas and A&M have 17. So they could just not show up to wherever they're playing next week and be fine.
So that's kind of how it goes. It's just a race between Arkansas and A&M right now. A&M is a very good baseball team right now.
Tennessee will be in Starkville next week, so the Dogs very well may miss Hoover.
Yeah.
Sorry for derailing you there.
I want to ask you this.
What's up?
I was on HawgBeat.com, and I was on the message board, the trough. A lot of the guys over there, they're kind of Debbie Downers, not going to lie. I know some of them listen, so thank you for you guys who actually listen instead of roasting me on the board all the time. I can take it. I'm a man. But one dude said that this team's just not good. They can't hit. And I responded, they just scored 17 runs in the first 2 games. And he was like, how many runs did Vanderbilt score, and where's Arkansas's average in the SEC? So I looked at it. Vanderbilt scored 17 runs. Arkansas was 10th in the SEC in batting average. Can this team hit enough to be dangerous in the postseason? That's my question to you, Robert.
Okay, I don't mean to send you on another stat journey here, but how about OBP and OPS? Where do they rank in the conference?
Christian, can you find that? Look up SEC baseball stats.
10th out of 14 is a little unnerving.
Okay, but what I'm asking you is, do you think that I know that this team can hit, and I think we know the potential of this team. Like, yes, they can hit the baseball, and yes, they have a lot of potential. Do you think that this baseball team, from what we've seen, big sample size, how many games have they played?
51, I think.
That's 51 games of sample size. We know by now what this team is. Can they hit enough to win in the postseason? I'm not asking about can they get on base enough.
Well, a lot of times that makes the difference because, think about Game 2 against Vanderbilt. They didn't really hit. They had 5 hits, but they scored 11 times. If you can make the pitchers, if you can drive their pitch counts up, if you can make them get into 3 and 4 ball counts, you can make them pay. We've seen that before. Who did they play last week? Arkansas? Auburn? 2 pretty important offensive games for wins, right? Where do I need to be looking? They scored 11 runs in the game Friday night and 7 with 13 hits. Granted, 14 left on base in Sunday's rubber match win, but I feel like those were 2 statement wins on the Plains last weekend. I
agree, but that's old news by now. That's 2 weeks ago. Well, that's 1 week.
1 week ago.
Yeah. What stats did you just ask for? You asked for on base?
On base in the conference and OPS in the conference. I don't know if you can find OPS.
Christian's got it.
Yeah, I got on base, they're 7th with 381. And then for slugging, they're 6th with 479. So they got, what's their OPS with that? 381 plus 479.
860.
Something?
Yeah.
860 OPS.
Okay.
I don't know. Is that good?
It's
I don't know.
I think it's serviceable.
Yeah.
Is that enough for you to say that this team can be dangerous in the postseason or not? Right now, I said it. There's a lot of sample size, so we should know by now. I just think that this team is so up and down.
That's the thing too. Is like, I mean, we can sit here and say yes they can or no they can't, but we just don't know. It's going to depend on which team shows up because it is up and down. It feels like Jekyll and Hyde.
And it doesn't help that right now your starting pitching is also up and down.
Right.
Because
I mean,
that was
they're the same thing.
That was the thing you could hang your hat on early in the season was they might not be able to score a whole lot of runs, but the other team's not going to score a whole lot of runs either because their starting pitching is really good.
We are not seeing hardly any consistency with anyone on this team right now.
No.
Except for maybe Zack Morris.
Zack Morris, Will McIntyre.
And Will McIntyre.
Who would have guessed coming into the season that the weekend before the last weekend of the regular season, Zack Morris and Will McIntyre are the two most consistent players on the team.
Start them next week. Find out what happens.
That's not gonna happen.
I know it's not, but
I'm looking at the runs that they've given up the past few games. Let's see. So you gave up 7 to Missouri State, and then you gave up 6. Sorry, and then 8.
I also feel like they weren't trying in that Missouri State game.
No, that's different. 8 game 1 against Auburn, 5 game 2 against Auburn, 4 game 3. You gave up 9 to Vandy, 6, 5. So it's like they haven't really had many low scoring games in a while either.
Right.
The last time the opponent scored less than 4 runs was UCA on April 26th. They scored 1 run.
That was the Little Rock game, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
That wasn't on TV.
Which was a Will McIntyre pitched game. Right?
Yes. I don't know, man. It's tough. It's tough.
You know what does feel like is happening? Is it feels like there are more errors.
The fielding has been a little weird. The Slavens error
that cost Wiggins a few extra pitches. Definitely a run Sunday.
Someone in the press box leaned over. I won't name drop and said, "Peyton Stovall makes that play." And I'm like, Brady Slavens was the first baseman all year last year.
I mean.
But it's just one of those things. I think that's another tough thing that Dave Van Horn and his staff have going on right now is we're talking about can this team hit. They're still messing around with the lineup right now, and they don't have the lineup figured out right now.
I kind of thought they were in good shape after Auburn.
I did too. I don't know why. Diggs is probably in the lineup. He went 0 for 8 this weekend, but there's between Kendall Diggs, Brandon Webb, and Brady Slavens. I don't know right now. Probably Slavens right now, but all 3 of those guys, they have some of the best quality at bats on this team. Slavens has come a long way. I don't know if you remember early in the season, he would have at bats where he would swing at the ugliest pitches, and he was trying. I mean, I think we learned from Matt Goodhart that Slavens is not swinging for the fences every time. That's just his swing.
Right.
But, I mean, there were swings where it felt like he was coming out of his shoes every time.
Yes, and, I mean, it feels like every time it happened, we said something about it. Not on here, to each other.
Well, it was like, what is Brady Slavens seeing at the plate? And now it's like, he probably gives you your most quality at bats at the plate.
Right. And, you know, when those first few times we got to talk to him after games, he never really seemed that panicked that he was in a slump, right?
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, this is just a culmination of a really good stretch that I'm having. And Goodhart talked to us about it. I mean, he's not really slumping. He's just not getting the results.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, man. I think that they need to figure out a solid lineup that they can go with. And I think that consists of
Chris Lanzilli.
They won a lot of ball games with Lanzilli in the lineup. I wonder if there's a stat that we could see what their record is with Lanzilli in the ball game when Lanzilli starts. Let me see if I can pull that up. If NCAA, if the stats is that, if that's a thing. If you want to talk about something else, you got any questions?
Oh gosh. I don't know.
What else did you want to talk about? The SEC standings thing is kind of weird because it's really only Arkansas and A&M that matters right now.
Right. Who does Auburn play next week? Auburn is at Kentucky, so Auburn could still be a threat.
How many games back are they?
Okay, so get this. Auburn and Alabama, they only played 2 games this weekend.
Really?
The third one got canceled due to weather.
Wow.
So they're just not going to make it up because the SEC rule says you have to play 3 games in 3 days. They can't make it up later, even though they are in-state opponents, and that wouldn't be difficult for them.
No.
So Auburn's a game and a half behind A&M and Arkansas right now. That tiebreaker that you would have over Auburn is now sort of inconsequential, I think, because with a half game, things are different. There's not going to be a tie with a half game.
Yeah.
So Arkansas's got to take care of business to prevent falling further because Auburn's at Kentucky. Kentucky's not all that great. I mean, Auburn gets, say for the sake of saying Auburn sweeps Kentucky. They're 18-11. The Hogs would need to win the series just to be ahead of the Tigers. Because if they drop 2 out of 3 in Tuscaloosa, then they'll be 18-12. Auburn will be 18-11. By virtue of not having played that 30th game, the Tigers will be second in the West.
How many games has Arkansas lost?
In conference or total?
Total.
14.
14?
They're 37-14, 17-10 in league play.
Oh. Well, Lanzilli's been part of 13 of the 14 losses, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Surprised it's that high.
1, 2, 3. I'm just going to count them out loud. I lost my place. I counted it. I think it was 13. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. They've lost 14 games?
Yeah.
Oh, then he's been part of all 14 losses.
Well, never mind on that then.
Yeah. Wait, no. That's actually I take that back.
I was about to say, I mean, he didn't lose.
No. Okay, so that's so -1, -1, -2. He was not part of 2 of those, so he wasn't part of 2 of the losses. Either way, I think Lanzilli should be in the lineup. Let me pull up his stats right now.
I mean, we talked about this recently too. It's not like he's slumping. I mean, over 5 was maybe one bad game on Friday against Vanderbilt, but it seems like that's the extent of it. I don't know.
He's hitting .304 against lefties, and against righties, he is hitting .304. So he's hitting .304 across the board.
He is 0 for his last 7.
I think the big thing with Lanzilli is that he's been struggling in conference play.
Yeah.
I'd have to go look at his conference stats. I can't find that right now.
Because he was money, I mean, going into conference play. I remember that.
Yeah, I think a lot of his stats came against non-conference opponents. But I don't know, man. That's the big question is
right.
What's going on with the lineup.
And I just don't have an answer. I mean, I shouldn't be the one expected to.
No.
But it's tricky, and I mean, Dave Van Horn's talked about how he doesn't like to, hit Gregory against lefties. He did that Sunday against Vanderbilt. Like it's all. I don't know how to explain any of it.
I feel like there's not a whole lot of consistency right now.
Right.
But we're not the coaches.
I feel like also if you keep tinkering with it, you're not going to find an inconsistency.
Well, maybe he's tinkering because he doesn't think he's found any. You had a few good games against Auburn.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's weird.
That's the big question. That's
weird.
why we're talking about it. It's a talking point. But we don't know, and that's why we're not on the coaching staff. Christian, you got something?
And what's going on with Peyton Stovall?
That's a good question.
I mean, said he was about 100% or about ready to play, not 100%.
I think did Vandy start 1 or 2 lefties?
2.
2?
Today and Friday, right?
Stovall's terrible against lefties.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big reason we didn't see him this weekend.
Correct.
And going into last weekend, Van Horn said like he would be good to go, but he didn't seem confident they were going to play him.
Right. And we talked about it. Like, I don't think there's any reason to rush him back. But maybe the next righty you face, Kendall Diggs doesn't play, Peyton Stovall does. You can move Slavens to DH, or you can put Stovall at DH.
I'd like to see Stovall back out on the field.
I think I would too. He is really good over there.
They did win a lot of games with him too. That's another. We talked about it with Lanzilli. They won a lot of games with Lanzilli. They won a lot of games with Stovall.
Right. I mean,
I feel like we're overreacting now. Now that I think about it.
Now we're the overreactors.
Well, our job is to talk about it, so like we're allowed to overreact. But at the same time, this team is a top 5, top 10 baseball team.
here's one more thing I don't really understand: is Jace Borfin starting against left-handed pitchers?
Yeah. I think
Did
Borf.
we talk about his splits being better versus lefties last weekend against Auburn? Is that why?
I think we did,
Yeah.
but
But back-to-back lefties with him and Gregory at the end of the lineup is, yeah.
it's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird. I don't know.
I don't have the answer. They like Borfin.
He's a really good defensive outfielder. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
He has power. It just doesn't always show.
No, I think we got to go, though. We don't have much time left. So we're about to hit our hour mark.
My last take is Enrique Bradfield, good at baseball.
Yeah. Enrique Bradfield Jr.
That's a really hot one.
That is that's a very good take there, Christian.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to find out Monday morning that he's the SEC Player of the Week.
Yeah. It's just like, how often do you have a guy that every time he runs, he's going to be safe? Like, you don't even question it.
Right. I mean,
There's no question when the crowd is like, oh, and it's like, no, he's safe.
is probably 2 or 3 times of his 6 stolen bases this weekend where Turner didn't even throw the ball.
Yeah. Not worth it.
It's not.
And some of the plays he made in center, too, like, looked like he was going to drop. He was just, boom, dart right there.
Yeah.
Anyways. All right. We will talk to everybody on Thursday. Robert, you're going to be on the road, so it'll be Zoom format.
Correct.
And, yeah. Anything else? We good?
Um,
Oh, shout out to Brady Teigert's parents and Zach Gregory's parents. I met them at the game, and they were very nice people. And I'm sorry what people said about Brady Teigert this weekend. I think it was really just one person who's just an idiot. But Brady Teigert, good pitcher, good family. They were nice people for the amount of time I talked to them. Christian?
I'm sure, a lot of Razorback media has been talking about it, but the Raccoon.
Oh, we didn't even mention the Raccoon.
Yeah.
well, I mean, you said it, like, this weekend's felt like it took forever.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about the Raccoon because it was 3 games ago.
How did we go? Wow.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Do we have time to do this real quick or no?
What?
To talk about it?
Yeah.
So I have a little inside scoop to add to all the other stories that people have added. But so I work with marketing in that marketing booth behind Section 110, and the room directly behind our booth is where the Raccoon fell through the ceiling. We let it outside. It went out of the park, but then it came back through another gate, and there was like 2 or 3 interactions with it, and it's the same Raccoon that fell through the ceiling behind the marketing booth.
It fell through the ceiling.
Yeah. So the guy I was working with, Jeff, he went in there to grab some supplies, and he said he came out a few minutes later. He's like, dude, a raccoon just fell through the ceiling. I went back in there, and like there's like ceiling tile that's all like torn apart because he fell through. It's crazy. Yeah.
Do people know about this? Is this like the first time the public can hear this?
I don't think anyone knows about this part of it, like where it originated from. Yeah, this is the like where it. So we essentially unleashed the raccoon on the crowd and got a couple people bit. So hopefully I'm not liable for that.
You're incriminating yourself.
Yeah, I know now.
This is incredible stuff.
I feel like there's probably fine print, like if something like that happens.
Well, probably don't pick it up, and then you probably won't get bit. Yeah.
That was.
What was he supposed to do?
Yeah, it's true.
He's a savior.
You see the second guy though? The second guy got his hand all chewed up.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't believe we went this whole podcast without talking about that.
I mean, that was one of the best Twitter moments of the year, probably.
Dude, there were a couple of videos, like that 1 second video. You know what I'm talking about? The one where the person in the white shirt fell down.
Yes.
That one is like up to 6 million views on Twitter. That's insane.
Hope that person's okay, but that was really funny.
It was hilarious. But
just watching that on repeat, just like falling down into the chair.
Yeah.
I love the still shot too of the raccoon where it's got its head like turned 180 and his mouth open.
Yeah.
Just incredible content, really.
Baum-Walker Stadium,
and
the raccoon baseball capital of the world.
And the press release too. I don't know if you saw this after Friday's game. It was like doors down, hogs and extras, despite Rally Raccoon's best efforts.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to.
It was a long weekend.
It was a long
It was
weekend.
a long weekend.
I'm so ready to go home right now.
I know.
I would say we would get him on the podcast, but I think just about every media outlet had him on and interviewed him. He did so many interviews on Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he was in the press box for like 5 minutes waiting to go on TV, telling everybody the story after like 3 people in the press box had already interviewed him for a story. I mean, that dude.
Incredible how something so strange as that can earn you so much fame.
I know. People own, like when he came into the press box, Fuller Birch was like, "Hey guys, it's the Raccoon guy," and it's like, "Oh, he doesn't have a name. That's who he is.
He's just the Raccoon guy."
I was like, "Hey, Raccoon guy," and I don't know. I mean, like, good for him. I saw him walking around Baum-Walker on Sunday. Nobody was like asking him for his autograph or anything. So, all right, y'all ready to go?
Stuff. Yep, let's get out of here.
All right, talk to y'all on Thursday.
You've been listening to the Diamond Hogs Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Choate Mason and at DRStew32.